Hello, I'm Malcolm Oliver and welcome to my Cruise Views. In this series of videos, I'm going to address various aspects of cruising that other YouTubers may not dare to address. I love cruising, but let's be honest, big modern cruise ships are income generating machines. After all, they have a captive audience. In this episode of Cruise Views, I will be looking at excursions on board ocean cruise ships. I've specified ocean cruise ships because normally excursions are an additional cost, whereas on river cruises they're often included. Cruise lines normally offer an extensive range of excursions in each port of call for the passengers to buy. Many will involve coach transportation from the ship. Although these excursions are normally of very good quality, they can be pretty expensive in my opinion. A half-day excursion might cost £40 or £50. A full-day excursion could cost 80 or 100 per person. If a couple on a 2-week cruise took every excursion in every port, that would equate to hundreds of pounds of additional expenditure. Now I'm going to explain how you can reduce that expenditure. If you're enjoying this video and would like to encourage me to make more, please click the subscribe button. The excursions, of course, put everything on a plate for you. All cruise ships have a dedicated excursion desk where they will sell the excursions to you. They can also be bought online before the cruise. If you go to the excursion desk and say to them, "Should I do an excursion in the next port of call?" they will of course say yes. That's what they do. They sell excursions. But in many cases, the simplest, cheapest thing is to just get off the ship and walk around the town. That's money saved. However, it's not always quite that simple on an ocean cruise. Most ports for ocean ships are not in the heart of the city, they're in a dock. They can be quite industrial areas, quite a few miles away from the city and the attractions. The good news is that cruise lines normally run a shuttle bus from the ship to the town. There might be a small fee for the shuttle bus, maybe a few pound each way per person, or it could be completely free. That's still £96 saved per person. There is of course likely to be a long queue for the shuttle bus. If you're allergic to queuing, taxis will be available. They may not actually be operating inside the port, but they may well be outside the port gate available for passenger hire. Why not share a taxi with another couple and save money? My top tip is to plan what you're going to do in each port of call before you even board the cruise. This can be done at home using the internet. You might want to check what the official excursions are offered by the cruise line, work out what you want to see, and work out if you can actually reach the places of interest cheaper by walking, public bus, taxi, or even train. The net, of course, is full of information, maps, and transport timetables. Sometimes you'll get off the ship and find other companies offering unofficial excursions. Now these are often very similar to the ones offered on board the ship, but possibly cheaper. But of course you have no guarantee of quality either. Many cruise terminals actually have a tourist information desk who will offer advice in English and give out free maps of the city. However, there are occasions when the cruise line's excursions are difficult to beat. If you're visiting an attraction a long way from the port, and sometimes they are, it is probably cheaper to do the ship's excursion than it would be to hire a private taxi. There are some occasions when I would not risk the DIY approach. This is not for safety reasons, this is for logistics. Rome is a good example. The port for Rome is some 50 miles from central Rome. The station is near the dock gates, but the ship may berth quite a long way from the dock gates, so initially you've got to get yourself to the station. The train takes an hour or so and is pretty cheap, but some are direct, some are not. You may have to change train. You could get to Rome by train relatively cheaply, but what happens if the train is delayed or suspended? If your official excursion is late back to the ship will simply wait for you. However, if you're an independent explorer doing your own thing, you will have to wave goodbye to the ship if you arrive back late. So Rome is a case where I would not recommend the DIY approach. There is an option in between the cruise line's official tour of Rome and doing your own thing. Most cruise lines run a trip from the port to Rome called Rome on Your Own. This is simply a transfer from the ship to the city of Rome. You're dropped off, you can do your own thing, and you're given a time for the pickup. This is a cheaper option than the full Rome tour. For the record, I normally only take 1 or 2 excursions per cruise to keep the cost down. One of my finest achievements was in Oslo, Norway. The cruise line excursion, which was a city tour, cost £40 for half a day. However, I found out in advance that the local bus stop was very near the cruise port. I found the number of the bus, which circumnavigated the city just for a few quid. Much to my surprise, when I was on board the bus, there was a recorded narration in English. So that was a city tour and £38 saved. One final word. I'm not suggesting that you count every penny on board your cruise holiday. That would make the experience pretty miserable. However, if you save money on excursions, you could spend the money in the bar. If you save money in the bar, you could spend it on excursions. If you save money in a number of areas, that money could help you pay for your next cruise. Please have a look at my other cruise views videos, including one that shows you how to cut down on your onboard bar bill.